Hi again from Seahawks training camp. Gregg and Dave Boling of the News Tribune. The last training camp practice, the last time the fans will be able to see the Seahawks this entire year, this afternoon, and it ended in shorts and t-shirts and jerseys and no helmets. It was a really light practice 2 days before the second preseason game against Minnesota. Tony McDaniel made his first practice since he re-signed with the Seahawks after a year away. He was a starting defensive tackle in 2013 and 14. He really looks like he's going to take Silver Saliga's place as a veteran backup defensive tackle. Saliga has not been able to practice but 1 day because of a calf injury, and yesterday Pete Carroll all but said he wasn't going to have a place for Saliga on his roster. So they signed Tony McDaniel, who was kayaking and hiking in Leavenworth, if you can believe a man that large can fit in a kayak on the Wenatchee River. That must be a huge kayak. And his agent saw on Snapchat that McDaniel was in Washington State. He called the Seahawks and said, "Why don't you give my guy a tryout?" And here he is on the practice field. The other developments from practice, Thomas Rawls, I thought was a very positive development for him, is that he got back to full go in the backfield with the starting offense for the second consecutive day after doing that yesterday. That's just another step on his way back from the broken ankle. It looks like he's going to start that opener September 11th. And Dave, you noticed a certain $46 million wide receiver is not exactly taking camp off.
Doug Baldwin?
That would be.
Yeah, it's interesting for us to go back to Tony McDaniel to see Jordan Hill was out there practicing today to some degree and getting some reps with, the first and second units. And he's a guy that he's had such a string of unfortunate injuries. He just hasn't stayed healthy enough. He showed such real flash at times as a playmaker. Just can't stay healthy, and I think he's another one of those guys that maybe the scholarship is getting close to over.
Yeah, last year was contract.
If you don't step up and produce and prove you can be healthy and prove to the staff that they can trust that you're going to stay healthy, with the young guys like Jaron Reed, Quentin Jefferson, Brandon Bryant, the eyeball is really focused on Jordan Hill. The Baldwin thing is he'd been banged up, he'd missed some practice, he had a calf or an Achilles issue. He took a little wheel route, a short pass today, and he zoomed past everybody on the defense for 50 yards. He looks so fast and so fit. It is very easy to see him picking up where he left off last season. So I think he's another kind of a star camp that you take for granted, like you do, Sherman and Thomas and some of the guys that you expect to play very well. I don't think we can forget just how fast and quick and sure-handed he is, because he's certainly shown that once he's been back.
Co-led the NFL with 14 touchdown catches last year and a Seahawks franchise record. Our daily check on the offensive line today showed that Jamarcus Webb was back from his twisted knee, but he was playing on the second team at right tackle. The starting offensive line remained Gary Gilliam, the former starting left tackle this spring and summer, is at right tackle still. Bradley Soul is still at left tackle. That looks like that will be the lineup Thursday night against the Vikings. Dave, this late into the program now, second preseason game, training camp's over. What do you make of Webb being a second team tackle now?
I don't think today it's much of an issue. He's working back from the knee twist that he had. He might be getting just a few reps and easing back into the lineup. In the big picture, Coach Cable has said, he looked like a guy who hasn't done a lot in the offseason. I think from the very start of this camp, the eyeballs have been on him too. Is he going to be worth it? They spent some money on this guy, hoping he could at least be a placeholder at right tackle for a while, and I think that's still really up in the air. He's going to have to prove some things the rest of the way. But, on the whole, that offensive line has done pretty well the way it's configured right now. It will be interesting to me to see if they can have the kind of performance, the first group at least, that they did in Kansas City to some degree validate what was a pretty decent effort from the group that we all felt was going to be the biggest question mark the whole season.
Dave mentioned the money. Webb got a $2.75 million guaranteed 2-year deal from the Seahawks, which doesn't sound like much until you realize the Seahawks only pay their entire offensive line, including reserves, $11.5 million. Is the fewest committed to an offensive line in the league. What does training camp ending really mean? Well, players will still be out here practicing. It means fans won't be out here anymore. We will. Media will be able to be out here. It means we won't be able to give you live Twitter updates and videos from the practice sessions themselves. And it also means the players get to go home now. So Russell Wilson can go back to that shack he bought on Lake Washington with his wife, Ciara, and all the players can now spread out. The veterans that own homes here go home to their places and not just the team hotel with roommates.
But in terms of practice, though, it means absolutely nothing since there's no longer double sessions or, you know, that sort of thing. They will still show up for a walkthrough. They'll still show up for a film study, and then they'll have one practice a day.
Right. Light practice tomorrow, even lighter than today's, and then the second preseason game Thursday night. Thanks for joining us.